we're going to watch the website that made people do disgusting acts. I haven't watched this one. It's a new visualventure video. He always drops some absolute banger videos. Hey! Hi YouTube! Hi!
Hotel rooms, humiliated total strangers, and made people do terrible
Leave the
things.
volume up.
And no one could stop them because no one knew who they were. The group called themselves Pranknet, and this is how they became
Pranknet.
one of the most hated websites on the internet.
I think I've heard of them before.
Give you guys double the amount of videos without sacrificing quality, and to do that,
yeah, go sub to my goal.
So 70% of you guys aren't subscribed. It would mean the world to me if you did, and I promise to give you more fire content. I'm Visualventure, and you are awesome.
Yeah.
The dark side of laughter. It was 2008, and Pranknet
2008? I was like
a clubhouse for the
6?
internet's worst pranksters. The website looked like a regular chat room with about 200 people, except they weren't there to just discuss pranks. They wanted to do them. There was just one obstacle. They wanted to do pranks in real life, but Pranknet's members were scattered across the country staring at computer screens. How could they prank anyone in real life if they were behind their computers? Eventually, they figured it out, and their solution was diabolical. Pranknet used something simple, something almost everyone has, a phone. With a phone call, they could pretend to be anyone, and they could target people all over the world. But that wasn't enough for them. They decided to record the prank calls, and then post them online for laughs. They even made a creepy logo. It was a huge black bird with its wings wide open. Inside the bird was an angry man yelling
prank
on the phone.
channels.
That was the reaction.
At least the ones who do like very malicious pranks.
Prank University. That was another name they sometimes went by. And by early 2009, they were ready to carry out these pranks. Their first victims. February 10th, 2009. It was a quiet night at the Best Western Hotel in Pennsylvania. Guests were asleep in their rooms. Everything seemed normal, but the hotel was about to be thrown into panic. It started when the phone rang in room 306. The guest picked up. The voice on the line sounded serious. He said his name was Jonathan Davis from the front desk. And
Jonathan Davis.
The gas leak had spread through the building. It was so
Ooh,
serious
I actually think I've heard about this
Obviously, the guest in room 306 was worried, but the guy on the phone who was allegedly
I'd be terrified if I got that call.
Solution. He told the guest to do 3 things to protect himself. Step 1, unplug everything. Step 2, wet some towels and press them against the door. That would prevent carbon monoxide from leaking into the room. The guest followed every step. He didn't ask many questions. He just wanted to survive.
I don't know. I feel like if I got this call from someone saying they were from like the front desk, there was a gas leakage, I'd be a little sus. I'd either hang up and call the front desk or call the cops, you know? Like use another phone if someone else is in there with me to call them, because that's people are a little sus nowadays.
And the caller gave the third
but I understand why people would
extreme.
be concerned.
He told the guest to break the glass window in the room. The window was
hell
huge,
no.
5 feet wide, 5 feet tall. If you broke it, it would cause serious damage. The guest asked, "Are you serious?" The guy on the phone repeated the instruction. Smash that window to let more air into the room. Thinking his life was at risk, the guest grabbed a chair and shattered the glass. Cold air rushed in, but there was one last thing that needed to be done. The caller said the TV in the room could potentially explode because of the gas leak.
Explode?
It had to be destroyed.
Can a TV actually explode from a gas leak?
But it didn't break. So the caller told him to throw it out the window. The guest obeyed. The TV flew out of the window and crashed onto the sidewalk below. Luckily, it didn't fall on anyone walking below. The guest was shaking.
Then wait for staff to go into the room. I mean, I understand why like
a lie. The man on the phone wasn't from the front desk.
Or
he was
staff
from
wouldn't, because they can't go into absolutely every
thousands of dollars in damage. And it wasn't just room 306.
You know?
Other rooms got the same call about a gas leak emergency. By the end of the night, multiple guests smashed windows and destroyed hotel property. Hotel workers couldn't believe what they were seeing. They called the police for help, but by then the damage was done. And the whole time, Pranknet was in their chat room listening and laughing. They recorded the calls and posted the audio online, but this was only the start of what they had planned, because the next prank was so shocking most people can't even talk about it. The apple cider incident. On July 20th, 2009, Pranknet targeted Homewood Suites in Kentucky. That night, one of Pranknet's members called a hotel guest. He pretended to be the manager, and what he said was terrifying. He claimed that the room's previous guest tested positive for hepatitis C.
Oh hell no, I'd be pissing myself.
Infected from staying in the same room, especially if the room wasn't properly cleaned by hotel staff. The whole call was building up to one request.
That's a horrible thing to prank someone about.
Was in the hotel, and the guest needed to bring a urine sample down to the front desk to be tested, just to make sure they were okay. All they had to do was pee into a glass.
How do
bring
people
it down
believe
to
this?
the front desk.
I don't know.
To avoid alarming other guests,
I don't know, my
the caller
brain,
told
like...
them to use a code word, apple cider. That was the code. While the guest got ready, the prankster
my brain just
made
doesn't
another call.
compute
This time they called
how
the front
someone
desk
would
clerk.
believe this, but I guess
the guest was
it's like
supposed to
older
bring
people.
the apple cider to. The prankster pretended to be a representative from an apple cider company. He told
That's
the clerk
fucked
that a guest would be
up.
dropping off a sample for a taste test, and he wanted the clerk to take a sip and provide feedback.
They're
Moments later,
making her
the guest
drink
showed up. They
piss?
handed the hotel clerk a glass of warm liquid. She smiled and said thank you and took a sip. Her face changed instantly. She said, "That does not taste like cider. I'm not gonna take another sip. That's horrible." That's when the
my
Pranknet
God,
caller
that's
told her what she
horrible.
really drank. After that, let's just say all hell
I'd be
broke
freaking
loose. As usual,
traumatized, I'm
Pranknet
not gonna
shared
lie.
the recording online. To them, pain was entertainment. As Pranknet's reputation
Freaking
spread, people
sadistic.
began to realize the truth. Anyone could be the next victim. All you had to do was pick up the
Imagine
phone.
if,
Not long
like,
after Pranknet
the
hit
person
more
actually
hotels.
had
In
some
Alabama,
type
they
of, like,
tricked the guest into
transmittable
setting off a
disease.
sprinkler inside his room. In Nebraska, they
And they made her
convinced someone
drink
to
it?
drive his truck into the hotel lobby.
What
total
the
cost
hell?
Of repairs from these incidents exceeded $100,000. News outlets
How do you
picked
convince
up
someone
the
to drive
story.
into a
Hotels
lobby?
across the country were on alert. By June 2009, there were 8 cases across 4 states and counting. The police got involved. To them, these weren't pranks. They were serious crimes. And now the police were hunting the people behind Pranknet. The pranks were going too far. Law enforcement was working hard to catch the people behind Pranknet. In the meantime, Pranknet found new ways to cause chaos, and they weren't just targeting hotels anymore. One night, they called a busy restaurant. They told the manager that a recent pork shipment tested positive for swine flu. The manager panicked and evacuated the restaurant. Pranknet chose that restaurant because it had a live webcam in the dining room, so they could watch the panic
That's
unfold
so fucked
in real
up,
time.
dude.
Then there was the KFC incident. Pranknet convinced workers at a KFC in Manchester to do something humiliating. By the time they realized it was a prank, it was too late. The KFC kitchen was a wreck, and the story made national news. Pranknet also found a way to hijack business phone lines. They would call a phone company, pretend to be the business owner, and claim the phones weren't working. Then they would ask the phone company to forward the business's calls to a different number, and somehow
Only
it
acceptable
worked.
pranks are the ones that don't harm anyone, like the escalator calling pranks. Yeah, totally agree on that. That's like, ooh, I don't know. These people, I feel like these people deserve to be locked up in jail for doing stuff like this.
Hijacked the phone lines of a Hilton hotel in Tulsa. When people called the hotel, they were
lock
told
them up
there
and
was
prank
a
them in
flu
jail.
outbreak. Others were warned
Give them a
that
taste of
armed
their own
men were
medicine.
inside holding hostages. As Pranknet's twisted calls made headlines, people started to worry. If a stranger could cause this much chaos with just a call, were hotels and restaurants even safe anymore? The public was divided.
No one's safe.
Some blamed the pranksters. Others blamed the victims, saying people who give in to orders like this are just waiting for an excuse to do bad stuff that they wanted to do anyway. Meanwhile, police were doing everything they could to...
I wouldn't say they're waiting to give in. I feel like they're just a little oopid, you know? They're lacking a little bit in the brain department. But I mean, it's also... sometimes it's just really believable given the circumstances you're in.
Find the pranksters, but they still had no solid leads. There were rumors online, but nothing concrete. It was a problem
Burger
no
King
one could
employee
ignore.
to break
So someone
the
else
windows?
stepped in to stop Pranknet once and for all. Catching the criminals.
Yeah, catch your
The
ass.
Smoking Gun was a popular investigative website, and in mid-2019, the reporters at the site set a new goal: to expose the true identities of the people behind Pranknet. But it wasn't going to be easy. For 7 weeks, the team followed clues across the internet. They studied chat room conversations and examined police reports. And they noticed something important. Pranknet used Skype to make their calls. That's why the police couldn't trace them like normal prank calls. Slowly, the pieces came together. They discovered
I'm assuming
that the group
Skype
had a
was
leader. He called himself
anonymous.
Dex. He named himself after
Skype.
the TV show Dexter, who was a serial killer. From his comments, Dex saw himself as a...
Back in my day, when we didn't have Discord, we used to use Skype instead. When did Discord... when was Discord made? 2015. Yeah. Back in my day. Yeah.
puppet master, a mastermind. But the mastermind was about to make a big mistake. The smoking gun reporters joined the Pranknet chat room and offered to interview Dex. Dex couldn't resist.
I remember Skype. Yeah.
He showed no guilt for his actions. On the contrary, he blamed the victims for what happened. He called them sheep with no brains of their own. He also said Pranknet's real mission was to prove how stupid people were. When the reporters
showed his
asked
face
if he was
too?
scared of getting caught, his response was arrogant. His exact words were, "It's too difficult to find me. I'm a ghost on the internet." But while Dex ranted, the reporters already had a
you
trap
try hard
ready.
enough, you'll be able to find anyone.
Link to view one of their articles. When Dex clicked it, it silently revealed his IP address and location.
Fucking
the address
stupid,
wasn't
bro.
even in the US. It was in Windsor, Ontario,
Ooh,
Canada.
he's a ghost
So
on the internet.
got on a plane. They flew to Windsor, and when they arrived, they found the exact place where Dex lived. They staked out the building for days, watching everyone who came and went. And that's when they figured it out. Dex wasn't some criminal mastermind. His real name was Tariq Malik. He was 25 years old. He lived with his mom. He had no job and no friends. The smoking gun solved the mystery. In August 2009, they published a story. In it, they revealed Dex's name, picture, and address. By
Damn, they
hacking
full on
Dex,
exposed
the
him.
identities of some other Pranknet members. They revealed those names too. The expose went viral. News stations picked it up. Finally, reporters knocked on Malik's door, but Malik never came outside. He was hiding. Maybe if he thought he ignored them, they would just leave, but they didn't. The reporters stayed
Pussy
and
activities.
interviewed the neighbors. Then something ironic happened. Dex, the guy who humiliated strangers for fun, called the cops on the reporters. He claimed there were suspicious persons outside his home.
Brother, he's just gonna get arrested. Wasn't he like wanted?
Soon after, the FBI got involved. Several members of Pranknet were arrested. Some were found guilty of criminal mischief and sentenced to prison.
Good.
Interestingly, Tariq Malik, also known as Dex, denied being part of Pranknet. US officials tried to extradite
Wasn't he
him
the
from
main
Canada.
one?
However, there was no proof that he was ever arrested or charged in the US. That should have been the end of Pranknet, but it wasn't, because even after their leader was exposed, some of Pranknet's most loyal members kept going, and the stuff they did next was even more bizarre. Crisis at Motel 6. It was November 2010 at a Motel 6 in South Carolina. Joseph Jones was in room 107. The caller claimed he worked for the motel. He told Jones that the previous guest hid cameras all over the room, and now those cameras were spying on him. The voice on the phone sounded urgent. Jones had to destroy the cameras immediately. The caller claimed the cameras were hidden behind the mirrors. So Jones grabbed a wrench and smashed every mirror in the room. But there was another emergency that Jones needed to take care of. Jones believed every word. He grabbed a wrench and started smashing through the wall, trying to rescue the little person on the other side. Guests in nearby rooms heard the noise, but when the banging got louder, they called the front desk.
Who was the little person?
Found Jones standing in a wrecked room holding a wrench. She called 911. When the police showed up, Jones explained everything. The story sounded all too familiar. This had Pranknet written all over it. Later, investigations confirmed it. On that day, Pranknet members launched a series of attacks on Motel 6 locations across the country. Luckily, the motel manager didn't make Jones pay for the damage, but she still kicked him out immediately. Over the years, the pranks got fewer and fewer.
I'd assume they would.
Pranknet is no longer active. Some members served time in prison. Others moved on with their lives, but their disturbing prank calls are still online for anyone to hear.
I wonder if any of them are still in prison for this.
Computer screens in the comfort of their own homes, creating real chaos. The truth is that what you do online can really change someone's life forever. So next time you're online, ask yourself, would you be proud to stand behind your username in real life? Visualventure.
Exactly. Spitting facts, bro. Spitting absolute facts. Visualventure, my goat. God, I love him. Go sub to him, chat, okay? Go show him lots of support. Deserves it.